Hey everybody, and welcome back to Life with Illness. Today we're going to talk about employment. So right away I want to address the fact that there are a lot of people with a chronic or invisible illness who can't work. And that's okay. If you can't work, you're too sick to work, you can only work part-time. There are a lot of government programs, public and private subsidies, and a lot of disability programs if you can get disability status to help you pay your bills and take care of yourself without having to work. If you can't get disability status, there are a lot of, again, public and private subsidies that can help you go back to school and retrain if you have to change industries. There's a lot that'll help fund so that you can get clothes to go back to work or fund for transit. And again, if you can't work, that's all right. And don't let anybody else make you feel bad or pass any judgment on that. That's your life choice, and it's not exactly a choice. It's the life path that you've been given. So next I want to talk about when you can go to work, what you need to do during your job hunt. Now, for some of you, you have no problems going out and finding a job. You have enough management over your illness that it's not a big problem, but for other people, it does get in the way. So first off, you should make a list. Make a list of needs for a new job and wants for a new job. Now, this counts if you're re-entering the workforce or if you just need to change from one workplace to the other. And this is a really good thing for even someone without an illness to do. So make a list of your wants and needs, and then leave the list and come back tomorrow. That gives you 24 hours to think of something you maybe forgot and to rethink what your priorities are. For example, you could say you want a job that's close to home, but on your needs list, and then you go back the next day and go, well, I can actually drive to work. So maybe that's more of a want versus someone who's taking public transit or who's walking, where certain jobs are going to involve a 2.5-hour bus ride versus a half-hour car ride, especially if you live in a rural area and you have one of those interesting bus systems. So that's a really important thing to do, is to make a needs and wants list and to reevaluate it. A really good thing to do is to ask your spouse, best friend, family member, someone who knows you and your illness and who knows you, to take a look at that and say, you know, that other job you had before, this was a problem. Maybe this needs to go on your list. So once you have your wants and your needs, what this does is if you have something that's a need, like it needs to be in the same city you live because you can't drive, when you're looking through job ads, you don't look at the jobs that aren't in your city. It can get you overexcited for a job you can't have. It can get you all the way through the process for a job and hired for a job that then you can't follow through on. Or in some cases, for example, if you can't stand for multiple hours a day, but you apply for a job that has you standing for 8 hours, so you think, oh, well, maybe I'll get a chance to sit, and you don't. You either spend a very short period of time at that job, and you have to job hunt again, which is taken away from the time you could have spent starting a job that fit you. Or worse, you stay at that job because you need a job and you don't want to leave it, and it makes you sicker, and it doesn't help your long-term health. So a really important thing is the wants and needs list, and to look at that when you're looking at a job ad. Now, another thing to look at when you're looking at job ads is they will say things like 2 languages is an asset versus you're required to speak 2 languages. So pay attention to when something is listed as a requirement versus an asset. If something is a requirement and it's very obviously part of the job, and you don't have that, there's not much you can do about that. In some cases, you could go and take a quick course to do that. In some cases, they will say, for example, I've seen once about forklift licenses, that you need to have a forklift license or the ability to obtain one, which means you're willing and you're ready to go and do that training. And there's nothing to stop you from having that license. So you need to pay attention to that, because if it's a requirement and you don't have it and you can't get it, then that's not going to be a good job for you. And again, you're going to waste your time and their time. Now, when they say something is an asset, that's just one foot up for you if you have that. What happens a lot of the time, office, administrative, a lot of those jobs, they specifically ask for a program, being able to use QuickBooks, being able to use InDesign. They'll say it's a requirement, they'll say it's an asset. In some cases they say previous experience, or they say knowledge of. Again, that's something you can work through. If it's required to have knowledge of a certain program, or having knowledge is an asset, there's this beautiful thing called YouTube, and YouTube has wonderful tutorials for tons and tons of programs. If you're looking at a job and everything about the job fits you, it fits what you want, and you can do it, and you know you can do it, the one thing standing in your way is that you don't know a program, a computer program. Google it and look it up on YouTube. A lot of programs have trial runs. You can actually download it and use it for a few days to see if you can get a hang of it, and watch some tutorials. And if you can watch some tutorials and learn how to use it and have a base understanding of it, then go ahead and apply for that job. And when they ask you have you used it, you can say, I have tried that program at home. I've used it. I have a familiarity with it. I've not used it in a workplace setting. I'd really like the opportunity to do that. Another thing is some people, they list skills on their resume. If you have taken the time to learn to do programs, add knowledge of such and such program. A lot of common programs, if you check with your local college, they'll have a course in it. So that's another good thing, is you can tell them, if it's a key component of it, I'm familiar with it. I know that there's a course at this school I'd be willing to take while they're also learning it here. For some employers, it's not worth it to train somebody. And for other employers, it is worth it. And the idea is to get your foot in the door so that you can show them that you're worth the time and the training. But again, if they say it's required that you have 3 years of experience with QuickBooks in a shipping capacity with a shipping company, and you have never worked for a shipping company, you've never used QuickBooks, and you're missing other things, that's not a job for you, as much as the pay rate and the location sound really, really good. So when you're doing this, a really good thing is to weigh what's good for you and what's good for the person who's hiring you. Another really good idea when you're looking for a job is using social media. Connecting with employers through LinkedIn, through Twitter, through Facebook, follow their pages. If there's a local company you think you'd love to work for, follow them online, go to their events, talk to them, and make it clear that you think their company is great. In some cases that can give you a little bit of an edge later when you're applying for them and they say, oh, I've met her, or oh, they see that you've followed them online and you've been active in a positive way. Make sure you're active in a positive way. Another really good thing is to use LinkedIn. A lot of people will change their current work status to looking for employment. There are a lot of employers who cruise around on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn can be a very good place for someone to find you. It's a very good place to keep all of your resume information as well. And another thing is to let people know that you're looking for a job. Sometimes we don't want to tell people that I'm changing jobs. I don't want my workplace to know I'm changing jobs, and that's okay. But tell the people that you know, tell family and friends. You can put a Facebook status up. And you don't necessarily have to say it's for you. On the lookout for a job with blank, blank, blank. If you hear of any, let me know. You can say you're looking for a friend too, if you really don't want people to know that you are jobless or that you're looking for a job. But don't be afraid to ask people and to let them know. You don't necessarily ask people outright, oh, can I come and work at your company? But sometimes when you talk to people and if you meet a new person and their job sounds really good, chat them up. Ask them how they got into that, what that's required. That sounds really, really great. Oh, I'm actually looking for work. What kind of stuff did you do to become that? Like, what kind of schooling did you do? Another thing you can do is to get your foot in the door with companies is to call people and ask them if you can come in to speak to someone just about their company and about what it's like to work for them. Some people like that, some people don't. And sometimes it turns out a job and sometimes it doesn't. It sometimes works a lot more for student age people who are asked to come in for a job shadow day. There are I believe some government programs and private programs that work like job shadows, and internships. Internships are a really good thing to get your foot in the door. Again, unfortunately, a lot of the time they're unpaid, which doesn't really work if you're looking for a lot of money. And lastly, the really, really good way for a person with invisible chronic illness to make money and to have employment that makes you happy and keeps you healthy is self-employment. That doesn't necessarily mean you have a brick and mortar store or brick and mortar business, so much as you find something that fits your lifestyle. Selling Tupperware, selling Unique, selling Scentsy, selling Jamberry, selling all those kinds of products. A lot of the time they are set out specifically for people who cannot have a 9-to-5 job, and they can have a really, really great benefits. You also usually get a lot of the product, you get discounts, and most of the time you can make a pretty decent wage, especially if you're only looking to make part-time work. Another thing is to do contract work. A lot of businesses now, they are not hiring full-time people, they're only hiring contracts. Unfortunately, it's a lot of times so they can get out of giving benefits, but you can work for someone, you can get an 8-month contract, and then if you're not comfortable there or they don't keep you, a really good thing is that you can put it on your resume and you can say that it was a temporary contract. And when they ask you, or a new person asks you about it, you can say, well, I was hired for an 8-month contract, and you can say they didn't need me, or you can say they didn't bring me back. And whether or not that company gives you a good or bad reference, I found that very few places will give you a bad reference. They just say no reference. A lot of places have policies about whether or not someone can or can't give a reference. But unless you horribly screwed up or been terminated for a negative reason besides just a layoff, or you've stolen or something, most places will give you a fairly decent reference. So that's all we have to say today about finding a job. We will be doing another post later advising employers and hiring agents on how to work with someone who has an invisible or chronic illness. So if you want to check out more of our videos, you can check out our channel here on YouTube, or you can visit our website at www.lifewithillness.com, facebook.com/